The name is Abdul Manal, and this is my Thursday throwback story. Okay, my initial school was St. Peter's, but then my mom, my dad, and my auntie connived, and then they changed it to koforidua sectech since I had two cousins there. One was the entertainment prefect, Victor Adama, popularly known as Warren G. Yeah. So when that happened, I was just forced to go to koforidua sectech. I had no choice. Being in koforidua sectech was fun. I remember the day we were leaving home. It was quite late, so I got to campus around 5 p.m., 4 or 5 p.m. When I got there was one senior I saw. His name is Rakia. AKA, they call him Rakia, but his real name is Henry Amwabing. And the first thing he did was he took my pillow. He was like, 4 months, don't sleep on pillows. I was like, okay, fine, that was cool with me. So then I was given a school father on the spot. He was called Sharif. But Sharif was quite a boring school father, so I drew a little bit closer to Rakia because Rakia was a fun guy. My first day of going to the class, that was that evening of on my arrival, I was given a school bag and it was made with the school's ceremonial attire. You might be wondering which school it is. It's the Voice of East University, as everyone knows it, as in koforidua sectech. So when I got to class, everyone was surprised. How can a Form 1 boy have a ceremonial attire being in a school bag? So some seniors came around, and that very day I got my first punishment, which was okay. I was normal with it because I knew when you go to the boarding house, the first thing you're going to experience or going to be punishment and stuff. On the first day of arrival is cool. There was one thing that reminded me so much of home. I missed home so much because from my house to a mast which had a red light always showed, and from my house I could see the mast. Upon getting to school and prep that evening, looking through my window, I could still see one of the masts on the mountain. So there was this feeling about missing home and then missing mom and everyone. When I went to the dining hall the next day, I realized there were beaten Form 1s who didn't have cutleries. I told myself, no, I can't go through this pain of being beaten before I even get food to eat or something. Sorry, it was even the Form 2s were even beaten, but then there were just certain examples for we the Form 1s. So I told myself I was never going to step foot in the dining hall. So all through my first year, from first term, second term, third term, I never stepped foot in the dining hall. Because just for the fear that they were going to beat me up. I never went hungry on campus because I had my cousins to rely on any time. Shout outs to Victor Adama Warenji, he was always behind me. But the whole of first year, we never had a physics teacher. So we were missing out. Every time when it was time for physics, all we had to do was play. During those free times, during the physics period, what we, the guys in my class, did was, I used to write letters. Because before I got to school, I had a full envelope and then a writing pad. Nice designed writing pads with a perfume pen to write letters to the girls. Well, I ended up doing that during the physics period. I had some guys do the drawing and stuff. But then my first day in class, I really bonded with one guy called Richard Amano. He was from Ekropon. Richard Amano turned out to be a very smart guy. Well, I wasn't very smart, so I bonded with him very well because the guy was very smart. A week after I got to school, it was time to share letters. And then for the first time in, let's just say, the history of koforidua sectech, I received about 24 letters. And it was surprising. Everyone was like, how can a Form 1 boy receive 24 letters? So yeah, that day my chop box went empty because everyone was like, you had to bring a sardine, you had to bring this, shit and everything to get the letters. It was fun. I had letters from almost all my female friends. Majority were female friends. We had something called Vespers. So there was one time at Vespers when the sick bay prefect came, he was like, you. So I was selected to be part. So I didn't know where I was going because then the seniors were punishing the Form 1s. For a minute, my heart skipped a bit. I thought I was going to be punished for something I didn't do. Just to be told that I was going to work at the school sick bay, and then I wasn't going to work in the house. It was fun for me because I know working at the sick bay had less pressure. Thanks to Leslie Lomote, he made that possible. I worked at the school bay for a while and it was fun. Because I wanted to avoid punishment from the seniors. My waking up time was as early as 3 a.m. And when I woke up, I went straight to the sick bay. Because that's where I had to work. So I did what I had to do at the sick bay. But then, to be honest with you, transition from a mixed school, as in a junior high school that had a blend of male and female, to the boarding house wasn't quite difficult. It was easy to adjust to because then I had bigger brothers, so it was very easy to adjust to. But then along the line, I got to my school and I realized there were females in there because I didn't know they had females in koforidua sectech. It was still interesting. There were some first years that were females, there were some seniors that were females and everything. But then there was this notion about the girls in that school being male guys because they always related to them as male guys instead of the female girls. Vespers was fun. Vespers is when you got to, like they say, she jama, and then it was a mix of the gospel and then the jama feel. And right after Vespers, all you had to do was go and sleep. But then I didn't know back then Muslims were not supposed to attend Vespers in my school. That was the same time Muslims had to pray because you missed the 6 and the 7 o'clock prayers. So I went to Vespers for a couple of times and later I was told not to go for Vespers. So then when it was time for Vespers, I had to go to the mosque and pray. After getting 24 letters in school, everyone presumed this was a bad boy because a Form 1 guy to get 24 letters, it was something weird. But then people built a notion or a persona around that open ma. But then that wasn't really the instance. The instance was this. I was just cool with every female. I just knew how to relate to everyone on a certain level. You get it? So people had that notion that from Form 1, I had that bad boy persona. From my first year in school to my 3rd year in school, I could say there were some schools I didn't even step foot in, but then they knew me by name or they knew me by like a picture or something I'd sent to someone or a friend in that school. So let's just say the whole of Eastern region or koforidua precisely got to know Manal in a way that he was that bad boy, but then which wasn't really true. I just knew how to bond with people on a certain level. There was a clique I had in class which were so interesting. I used to sit at the corner of the class. Initially in Form 1, I used to sit on the first row, the first 3 seats. I was on the 3rd seat, sorry. But then after a while, I realized it was getting a little bit boring there because the guys there were quite, should I use the word, criffé? So I had to switch to the back seat. The back seat was fun. Yeah, they had the likes of Melekan there, Prince Edia, the likes of Peter Decker there, and then the likes of Deformer and yeah, the guys were right behind me, so it was an interesting clique. Though they were always making noise, and I was quite the quiet person, but then I was still enjoying their company. And I was always getting the favor of the class professor, who was Prince Edia, because he was my friend. So there was no time he gave me a difficult place to do as grounds work. I had all the easiest places to work on. It was fun. Who wouldn't like that? To have a professor as a friend and a class professor as a friend to give you easy works at grounds work. And one of the interesting parts about Form 1 was this. When it got to vacation, the guys in Ashaman used to organize a bus. Yeah, so we organized a bus from koforidua to Ashaman, and it gets interesting because then you get to buy beef for star. There was this food joint in koforidua, fried rice. It was called Afghan. So we do the shopping for the food and everything, and then we sit in the car, and it was fun. We sit in, we eat, we chat and everything. But then that feeling of leaving campus was a relief for a Form 1 student. But coming back to school, like when school was reopening, was a blow. The very minute I walked through school, it was as if, I don't know, I didn't know how to even explain it, but it was fearful because a senior could punish you anytime. And then sometimes it was even difficult to even get in touch with your parents because then you had to step out of school to use the phone booth to call your parents. And you had to buy this card to call your parents. So it was fun and it was boring and it was interesting. But then in all, that was what made the boarding house fun. Reporting to school late attracted punishment, which was grounds work. And then there was one man tasked to do that. He was called Mr. Ajene. Very tall, wicked man. He would give you like a big piece of cloth to read, and then if you don't do it well, you're in trouble with him. So there was one time I reported to school late. Anytime I was used to reporting to school late, I used to go with a doctor's report to prove that I was sick. That's why I couldn't make it. By that time, I don't know what happened. I think I misplaced the school report, the doctor's report or something. So Mr. Ajane didn't really care or something. So he gave us a plot to read. And that was Mr. Doe, an English teacher's bungalow, Mr. Doe. So what happened was we were reading Mr. Doe's bungalow, and then the next bungalow to Mr. Doe's had an orange tree. So the guys went there and then they brought some of the oranges to, they plucked some of the oranges and they brought it to Mr. Doe's bungalow. I didn't do the plucking, I didn't do anything. Mine was just to taste. And just as I was tasting, Mr. Ajane came. That was like the worst things I ever experienced in koforidua sectech. Mr. Ajane made us dig, a baller from one well to another well. And it took us 3 weeks to do that. The guys who I did that was with Amano, it was Abba, it was a couple of guys. So for like 3 weeks, we never went to class. We would dress and then you'd be like, oh, you're going to class, but then no. You go, you sign for your tools and then you go and work. So that was one of the most painful parts in Form 2. But then apart from that, Form 2, you were semi-senior. So yeah, Form 2, I started going to the dining hall. House 1 room 11 was one of the fun rooms. The seniors treated us like their younger brothers. So back in Form 1, it was fun. And I had a lot of school fathers. Let's just say all the seniors in that room were my school fathers. Apart from that, I had a dining hall coordinator, Hadi Tofik, to be one of the best school fathers I ever had. Since he was a coordinator, I was always getting food. I didn't even need to step in the dining hall. That was one of the reasons why Form 1 was fun. Sagacious and Ozone and the guys in room 1, house 1, room 11 were perfect. One thing they didn't like was for you to scrub the room when it was your turn and then you didn't do it. If it was your turn to do the room scrubbing, you had to do it because the rooms in sectech had this white tiles in there, and then if you didn't scrub, it was still going to look brown. So they'll get to know that you didn't do the room scrubbing. But then because I was always waking up late, I did my room scrubbing around 3 a.m. By 3, 4, I was done and then I'd left the house because I had to go work at the sick bay. It was fun in the houses. The seniors were, well, they punished those they had to punish. But then there was one thing I never did when I went to school. Form 1, I never acted like a Form 1 boy. I was neatly dressed every time. I was always in my khaki and my white. And I was always not around the Form 1 guys. I went to the chop box room once in a while because I didn't really need much from there. All I needed was in my bag in the room. So I didn't go to the chop box room for anything. So I didn't act like a Form 1 boy. So some seniors in Form 3 didn't even know I was a Form 1 boy until one guy whispered it out to everyone. He just shouted it, hey, Form 1 boy, because I was in his room. And that happened at the washing shed where we have our vespers and the dry yard. The dry yard was to announce or to call all Form 1 guys to come if they had a work to do or something in the house. There was a particular bungalow called B0. And that was the access route you could use to town. But then you dare not be caught using that B0. B0 was a bungalow for a teacher who used to rear pigs. So anytime you passed there and the pigs were making noise, then this teacher got to know, yeah, these guys were going to town. But then there was nothing really he could do because you don't get to see our faces. All you get to see is our back. And then we are gone. And there was one, I wouldn't say he was wicked or something, but then our house master, Mr. Benjamin, as popularly known as Dada B. Dada B was a taxi driver. When he gets you in town with that exit, he makes you pick a drop with his taxi, drops you on campus, gives you a plot to read, you pay for the drop-in fare, and finally you wash for him. That was the thing you had to do as a punishment. And that was very wicked of him. But then his assistant was one good man, Mr. Aqua Ellis. And Mr. Aqua Ellis was down to earth, and then he really had, should I say, pity on we Form 1s and Form 2s, or let's just say students in general. He saw things from our point of view, and then we really liked it. So Form 2, I think Form 2 second term, we had a chance to become prefects. So I picked up a form for a compound prefect. Unfortunately, I didn't get a compound prefect, which was okay. It was a big blow to me because everyone felt I should have gotten the post. But well, I didn't get it. So I moved on to something better. I became the school's SRC General Secretary. And becoming a General Secretary, I had to work with the school prefect, who was the SLC president, sorry, by name Amos Akonfi-Apel. He was coming from Koforidua. So what happened was we used to even leave campus without exits because we were prefect, and then we go to his end in Koforidua just to cook, eat, and come back to school. Yeah. So around the same time, myself and a guy in class in one corner just was like, oh, he was playing with words, and we were like, open your eyes or something, and then we were like, we cancelled out some words, and then we formed a company called Penuyes. Well, Penuyes started from basics, but then I helped him form the name, but then I don't have much hand in it at the moment. But then thumbs up to Prince Edia. He's doing so hard with Penuyes at the moment. Yeah, and he has a light of JC Addo Tenkran following him and helping him out. Back in my school, when you say SLC, the slogan they said was for frick and letters, but which wasn't the slogan instead. But then we were noted for fun fairs, and I was the one in charge of the letters. So during that same period, I was made a town protocol too. So even though I was the SLC General Secretary, I was still a town protocol. Is there prefect or something? So I could go to town and then just grab you without exit, bring you back. And instead of taking you to the housemaster, I sort myself out first, and then you're good to go. So before I tell you about Gloria Adai Brown, let me tell you about one interesting and amazing and pretty girl too. Her name is Anita Nanajo Fochu. So Anita's brother was my senior in school, Abbas. So one time Abbas asked me, oh Manao, can you give me Milo and something to prepare soakings? I was like, okay, sure, why not? After giving him, he was like, oh, you've been good to me. I'm going to give you my sister who is in Krobo Girl. So I was like, whoa, that's interesting. So he ended up forcing me to write to Anita. When he told me I didn't take it serious, I was just like, oh, it's just this normal stuff. This guy was on me one prep time, brought me an envelope, brought me a writing pad to write to her sister. He finally took the letter and went to post the letter too. So Anita and I didn't get a reply for a while. We were just cool until I met Gloria Adai Brown. She was very interesting. It was just one time after intercall, and then we were coming back to campus and I saw her. We bonded that very minute. And from what I hear, my folks in New Job in secondary school will be like, my name was all over campus. Well, you can't blame me. You understand? A nice guy hitting on a nice girl and we two clicking together was fun. You get it? So it went on for a year. I think almost a year or two. It was fun. I saw that was when I got to meet the likes of Josephine Abefi, Nakresi, Amel, Telma, and a couple of ladies who were interested. But the latter part of Form 2 was fun because then I became a prefect. Easier to go to Jabin to see Gloria, which we bonded very well. So it was fun. So we had to prep for Form 3. So Form 3, then you became seniors, and then we had to prepare for WASI and everything. There was this strike time during that Form 3 time. But then I was still my prefect, so I could get my letters. But then along the line, I also did what they did to me in Form 1. So there was this kid who came back in Form 1 and he had a couple of letters. I think he had almost 8 or 10 letters. And I just remember what they did to me when I was in Form 1. Instead of giving the letters out, I took sardines from him. I took, I think, 4 sardines. Every 2 letters had 1 sardine. I took 4. It was fun. I had to eat with my friends and everything. So it wasn't as if it was a bad thing. It was just that part of feel about secondary school. You had to project to the genius, which was a good thing, not to beat them up or anything. I had a school son called Kenneth. Kenneth was very stubborn, and then he was a junior brother to the former SLC president. So my time spent in Jabin was fun. And even from what I heard on campus, the guys in koforidua sectech used to call New Jabin Secondary School House 5, which was fun. Yeah, so myself, Amos, Caleb, known as Waddell, Kevin, as in Pino, Baba, and the other guys all went to Jabin from time to time. So I ended up meeting Gloria Adai Brown. Kevin used to meet Pina. And then a couple of guys used to meet other girls. Taki, them used to meet Nadia. Nadia, and then Aisha. And them. There was even a laugh triangle that time between Taki and a couple of guys over a girl called Aisha in New Jabin Secondary School. I didn't know how that ended though, but then I hope they are still okay now. It was fun at the latter part of, or let's say the latter part and the beginning of Form 3. And then reality set in that we had to write our final exams and just be done with the boarding house. It was sad though, but then it had this bittersweet feeling to it, because then you're going to be out of the secondary school and then you're going to face life, but then you miss your friends because you had this clique you always used to work with, and you miss maybe the Gary and Shito and the Soakins and stuff on campus. You get it. But then at the long run, you still wanted to venture into the new world to see how chances were going to be. I'll finally wrap up with saying hi to all my friends, most of them, those I remember though, yeah. The likes of Amos Akonfia Pao, Eugene, the two Eugenes, we had Ayiwa Cash and we had the other Eugene, and the likes of Kwamwa, Peter Deke, Millikan, Prince Edia, Abba Clement, Dark Clement, and yeah, all the guys. And not forgetting my House 5 guys. The likes of Palm in there, the likes of Jaguar, the likes of Ibrahim, and then the females, Gloria Dai Brown, Nadia, Muduk, Gisipina Befi, and then all the girls, yeah. So all in all, this is a story about my throwback Thursday life experiences in the secondary school. All right.